Section 0 of the Life of Mozart, Volume 1. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Noel Badrian. The Life of Mozart, Volume 1, by Otto Jahn. Translated by Pauline D. Townsend and others. Preface. Preface to the English edition. I have been asked to say a few words by way of welcome to the translation of Jahn's Life of Mozart, and I do so with pleasure. This book has been long familiar to me, and I regard its appearance in an English dress as an event in our musical history. It will be a great boon to students and lovers of music, and it shows how much the study of music has advanced among us when so large and serious a work is sufficiently appreciated to repay the heavy expense attendant upon its translation and publication. The book itself is what the Germans call an epoch-making work. The old biographies of musicians, such as Forkel's Life of Bach, 1802, and Dies's of Haydn, 1810, are pleasantly gossipy accounts of the outward life of the composers, but they concern themselves mainly with the exterior both of the man and his productions, and there is a sort of tacit understanding throughout that if the reader is a professional musician he will know all about the music. If he is an amateur, it is altogether out of his reach. Characteristic traits and anecdotes there are in plenty, but as to how the music was made or came into being, what connection existed between it and the circumstances or surroundings of the composer, what relation it had to that of his predecessors or contemporaries, how far the art was advanced by the labours of this particular composer or player, all that is outside the province of the book. Schindler's Life of Beethoven, Münster, 1840, a much smaller book than it afterwards became, was hardly more than this, and in addition is so deformed by want of method and by faults of style as to be very uninviting to the reader. A step in the right direction was taken in Moscheles' English translation, or rather adaptation, of Schindler, 1841. Moscheles' residence in London had shown him that there was even then a public outside the professional musician to whom such works would be interesting, and he accordingly took pains, by inserting musical examples and other means, to make his edition attractive to this class, but the inherent defects of the original work prevented more than a moderate success. The first real attempt at a biography of a composer that should interest all classes was the work of an Englishman. Edward Holmes was not only a musician, but a cultivated man with a good literary style, and his Life of Mozart, including his correspondence, 1845, was very nearly all that such a book should be. It was derived from original sources, it was full and yet condensed, it blended admirably the portrait of the man with the portrait of the musician, it contained for that time a considerable amount of musical illustrations and lists of the works, and in addition to this it was written in a style attractive to the amateur, and even to the ordinary reader. It was largely read, and has long since been out of print. More than this, it extorted praise from a German writer, and that a German should praise any English work on a musical subject is indeed an event. The terms of warm commendation in which Jahn mentions it in his introduction are in striking contrast to those which he employs over some other German works. He calls it an interesting and readable biography, a trustworthy, and as far as was then possible, exhaustive account, the most trustworthy and serviceable that could be produced by skilful use of the materials generally accessible. Pages 9 and 10. In fact, it has been said with truth that whole pages may be found in which the two works are so closely alike that the one might be thought to be a translation of the other, the probability being that both Holmes and Jahn
Sample complete. Ready to continue?